So fine, blow my mind.
Okay, it's another week. This is the Donovan Sadiq Show. Welcome. We love to have you every week as we talk about the latest shenanigans going on in the Inland Empire, especially Moreno Valley, which is a thing within itself. So, got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm going to be joined by Sean Fortine, and he's going to be joining us as soon as he can get here. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and say what's on my mind and just get it out there. So, I want to thank you guys for all the listeners. Last week, we had over 10,000 people on the radio listening to us rant and rave, and you guys really like the videos that we do, so we're really good about that. So I guess we're more of a video society than we are a, getting on the radio old school. If you look back there, I have a phonograph, and I still play albums because albums are coming back. God, but they're so expensive. One album is like $20. But go on eBay or Amazon, you might get a cheaper album. But I got a lot of stuff going on with that back there. So just got the Family album, which is a group that was produced by Prince. And, anything affiliated with Prince or Michael Jackson, the prices skyrocket because, that's a very hard album to get. And if those of you who are Prince fans, you will remember that was Belle. You will remember that the Family had 2 hits in the 80s. The most popular one was The Screams of Passion, and High Fashion was released as a single. But their most notable song was Nothing Compares to You, that was made famous by Sinead O'Connor, but they were the first group that actually did that song. So for those of you who didn't know, that's music trivia for you. Didn't want to put on the Turtle Cups. I kind of like this where I'm double mic. So with this, I'm double mic'd a little bit. So it's kind of a little bit better for me. So anyway, tomorrow in the Moreno Valley City Council, they have to come to a decision if they're going to go to a special election or if they're going to appoint. Now, it looks like to me they are going to appoint because to bring somebody up there like you did Yucatan Gutierrez 4 years ago with a acceptance speech already in hand is going to have the city up in arms. And I just don't see enough people putting in applications or whatever they're going to do. So I think a special election is going to happen. So that's a good thing. And if they're smart, they will go to the special election because they really have no room to say why not to have a special election. We are a solvent city, a lot of money in our reserves, according to them, even though it's accounting tricks. And $80,000 for a special election. So what? And when they keep talking about, well, you want to save money. Well, we want to save democracy. Let the people in District 4 decide who will represent them. And $80,000 is way cheaper than what it cost us to get Idiot Gutierrez up off of that seat. And that's the way I feel about it. He cost us in just litigation alone over $100,000. So a lot of noise has been made about Evan Moron. This is a man that's on the school board. You saw the video. There's been 2 videos out. One video where he is street racing and using homophobic slurs, racial slurs, feminist slurs, you name it. It is hard to believe that this man has daughters. And the other video is where Mr. Morgan in 2010 is playing with dolls. Now, what a grown man is doing playing with dolls, and I'm going to come to his defense in this aspect because Mr. Morgan, I don't know why he was put out of the military, but it is very apparent to me that he has a mental issue where his maturity level isn't where it should be conducive to his age. And that's just my opinion on Mr. Morgan. But in the second video, he's playing with dolls. And as he's playing with these dolls, he's simulating forcible rape. Now, I don't have any kids on the school board or not in the school board, but in the school district. But if I did, I would be highly concerned that this man is on the school board. Now, for those of you that don't know, look at the history of Moreno Valley. We have had a member of the school board that was convicted of pimping and pandering 15-year-old girls, and he was a member of the school board. That is what we're dealing with here in the city of Moreno Valley. There's a lot of corruption, and there's a lot of, this is basically the wild, wild west. And it's very sad because this was a really great lead. When there was a military base here, you didn't really have a lot of these problems. Plenty of money because of the influx of money that the base had brought to the local community. But now that the base has scaled back, we've been, through housing busts and stuff like that. I've seen it all happen here, and it's very, very sad. So, which thus is why I do my show. And, I know a lot of my friends from Okinawa and in the military say, gosh, Donovan is so, hard. He's so involved in the politics and, whatever. Well, you also got to remember, I wish I can live in a city that is over 100 years old. My city is only 33 years old. It was formed in 1984. So we're still a very young and immature city. And a lot of people from LA moved out here. And, wherever you move from, I don't care, where you move from, that's irrelevant. But, you can't take your formative years and just throw those out, because who you are in your formative years is who you're going to be. And so if you come from LA, which a majority of people do come that live here, they come with their ideas. And LA's had some problems with their police department, with their city corruption. And, it's all part of the process. And you got to look at everything as a whole. So, I could sit here like a lot of people that was in the Matrix. And, here's the funny thing. When you're in the Matrix, and I talk about this a lot, when you're in the Matrix, you cannot help but go on with what everybody's doing. You are so busy trying to make a living that you just, to you, that's normal. But when you're outside of the Matrix, like I'm outside of the Matrix, and I'm seeing what's going on, go to the movie. The movie exactly talks about what the world really is. And if you remember in the movie, when Neo took the blue pill or the red pill, whatever pill it was, he actually saw the world for what it was, not for what they showed him it to be. And that is what's really going on in the world right now. We have this utopian idea of how everything should be fair and everything should be this, but that isn't the case at all. So it's just one of those things where you have to really look at where you're at. And my co-host Sean has made it in. Come on, Sean. And it's just one of those things where you really have to look at where you're at, and that's Bell attacking Sean as he walks in and everything like that. But you have to really look at where you're at and see the world for what it is. And a lot of people, want to look away because to see the truth is very, very scary. And I would say it's scary. And maybe I wouldn't want to look either. But for those of us that have taken the blue pill and you see the world for what it is far more scarier seeing the people in the Matrix than the people that are outside the Matrix. So that's something to think about, whatever the deal is. So my co-host Sean has finally arrived, and we started the show without you. Okay. So it's no big deal. I was talking, I kind of alluded a little bit to the upcoming thing tomorrow. And the way I look at it is this. What do we do? Appoint or special election?
Oh, special election, no doubt about it.
And, why do you think we should go to a special election? I mean, I've already said we have the money, we're solvent.
The voters are supposed to get to decide on who is in that seat. It's that simple.
And what do you think is going to happen if they do not? I just have a feeling somebody's going to show up tomorrow with already a rehearsed speech in hand, and and they're going to be ready to go.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
The first thing that they're going to talk about is, the money and things like that. Oh, we should go to an appointment because we want to save money. According to them, with their accounting tricks, we're the most solvent city in the United States and California. So $80,000 for a special election is a drop in the bucket to what it cost us in litigation to get Gutierrez off of that seat.
Not only that, but $80,000 for a city election to uphold democracy, I think, is well worth it.
Very, very much so, and I said that earlier a little bit too. So, I mean, that's a cheap price for democracy. So, special election. So, let me ask you this: if you had to look at who's going to vote and how they're going to vote, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I suppose there's Highland Fairview is probably going to have their hand in it somehow.
Right.
But I think the people in that district should have a say in it still. I think that Gutierrez will appoint someone that thinks just like him and won't oppose him on anything and just be another sock puppet.
Right. So you think Gutierrez is just going to override everybody and just appoint?
Well, if he gets his way, he sure will.
Because I was thinking maybe if it goes to a vote, it'll be a 3-1. 3-1 vote for an election. At the best, it'll be 2-2, break tie, which would automatically trigger an election.
I kind of suspect it'll be 2-2.
Right. So, but does Gutierrez have the power to say, you know what, forget you guys, I'm appointing because I have the power to appoint?
I don't think so.
Right. In a situation like that, I think that would be political suicide.
I still think it would come down to 2-2 to confirm him.
Right. To confirm, but I would. This is Moreno Valley, and I would not be surprised if somebody just walks up, has a speech all ready to go, and a violation of the Brown Act again will take place. So that's my 2 cents on that and how we're going to move with that. But let's talk about some national stuff here. You see what's going on in the national news. What's your take on Trump's move to supersede this visa ban?
I think it's for 90 days. It's not like he's permanently banning Muslims. He's or Muslim countries. Mm-hmm. There's something like 58 countries in the Arab League, and he's only banning travel for 3 months from 7 of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's 58.
But is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because once you set a precedence, it's just like Nazi Germany. Once you do it to one, then it opens the door to more and more and more. And don't get me wrong. See, I was saying that the other day, and I'm arguing with people.
Well, I kind of suspect it also coincides with a major counterterrorism move because, it was just announced today that there was a Navy SEAL operation in Yemen.
Yeah.
I guess one was killed and 3 wounded. Just with anything to do with special operations, I just by default never believe them. They're telling the truth.
No.
But anyways, there were 14 people killed. They said a lot of them were female, which in that case they usually save the females for propaganda or suicide bombers.
Right. But see, here's my thing when Trump does these. Okay, number one, and you know me, I'm neither left nor right. I'm right in the middle. I vote my interests. I agree with the Republicans when they were railing about Obama using executive orders. Okay, I don't think a president should use executive orders only in the aspect of enforcing the law that has been passed by the lawmakers. Now Trump is using
what they call a Muslim ban is something that Obama also did with the same countries for 6 months, and no one was saying anything.
Well, see, that's not true. I put a thing up where it explained what that was. It's like it's partly true what the Republicans are saying, but it's not for the same reasons. It's not. It's totally that's totally discredited. But again, don't just believe me. Don't believe Sean. Go do your homework and find it out. But I did post the real thing, and I posted it not from these fake news sources. It came from the Wall Street Journal. Now, if people believe that the Wall Street Journal is now fake news, I don't know what to tell you because it's the same thing that the State Department is talking about today. But here's my thing with that. And I'm arguing with people back and forth about the executive orders. I mean, where's the outrage of the Republicans about Trump using the executive orders?
Well, a lot of executive orders are things to override Obama's executive orders too. And so he's not using executive orders for everything. Some of the executive orders he delegated back to Congress to review.
Right, but he's announcing every day executive orders that he's signing. So where's the outrage? You just can't say, well, he's using a little bit of them. Either you use them or you don't use them. And here's my thing, and I don't care. All this fear mongering, that's the whole key. The minute all you got to do is say it's a terrorist activity or this is going to happen, and then you get everybody riled up. It's a mind control tactic.
once the confirmations are done and the bills start moving through Congress again, then I think the executive will definitely need to stop by then.
Right. Now, like I said, if he wants to reverse Obama's executive orders that were done unconstitutionally, which I agree, if the lawmakers did not tell him to, or have a law that said, okay, like stopping at a red light, and Obama says, well, no, just go through it.
Yeah.
You want to reverse that, that's fine, but to me, the executive is supposed to execute laws of the Congress. Now, you might have to do a little this or that, but for this man who doesn't even have his team in place to start writing executive orders, where's the outrage? There's no outrage. I just don't understand it. You just can't say, oh, well, this black man's doing it, so how outrageous, but then a white guy does it. Oh, well, that's Trump. It's okay. No.
Right now, I'm still taking a wait and see approach on it. Like, the only one that really concerns me is, I guess it wasn't necessarily the one on Obamacare. That executive order doesn't concern me as much as Congress voting to repeal it without a replacement plan in place. But anyways, as far as the executive orders go, right now I'm kind of on a wait and see mentality on it. And like I said, once the appointees are all in place and the Congress has bills coming to Trump's desk, then that's definitely when the executive orders need to slow way down.
Right. Now, and another thing is the executive orders banning these Muslims. I don't care who's in office, what color they're in office, or how rich they are. America is not about, you can't discriminate against somebody based on religion or country of origin. So, I mean, right, he's already in violation. I mean, and here's the bad thing that I about it. It's just my opinion, is the way he's executing it. If he would fully explain it rather than do it, maybe he wouldn't get the backlash that he's getting, because that's what it is. He's given the left an excuse to rally together. And that's something Obama and Hillary never did.
What I'm waiting to see about that is that, especially with the Navy SEAL operation yesterday, that, or at least they say it was yesterday.
Yeah.
What I'm concerned about is that there may be some national security issue that's currently classified and that they're working to address while the travel ban is in place.
Could be, but again, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And I mean, it's very hypocritical to ban people based on national origin, color, sex, blah, blah, blah.
Well, also, I think a lot of the reason why there's no outrage is because so many people have seen what's happened in Europe from them allowing all the migrants into Europe.
Right, that's true. But we are a nation of immigrants ourselves. So it's unless you're a full-blown Native American, to me, you shouldn't have any dog in this fight. And if you're African American, since we were brought here against our will, I would say we would be exempt from that.
I don't know. I think we only take a responsibility for here and now. It doesn't matter how our ancestors got here. If you're a U.S. citizen, that's it. You're only responsible for here and now.
Right, I agree. But who to decide who gets to come here and who doesn't?
Well, it is legal. He does have a broad discretion into control of visas and citizenship. True.
But but that also goes back to not what he did, how he did it. I mean, the different departments. It was just a generic. Oh, just stop this. But you got to look at the people that were on the plane that still had green cards. Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a plan how to do it.
I think those people are still in limbo.
Yeah, well, they're still in limbo, but you see what I'm saying? He didn't think out how to do this, and this is where all the outrage is coming from. I don't think Americans as a whole would have a problem with it if it was executed. To me, he should have waited till his cabinet is in place, explained how this is going to work, because I was watching Fox News, oh my God, and they were saying, I mean, they were interviewing people, the Border Patrol guys and stuff. We have no instruction, and that's like being in the military, throwing these guys, say, okay, go fight, but there's no objective. You don't know what to fight, how to fight it, whatever. And I think that's the problem.
I don't know. I think in about 3 months, I suppose I'll revisit this in more detail again, because if it gets extended, I'm definitely going to have more questions.
More questions
than I have now.
to it, yeah. Well, I'm going to say this: if this thing gets extended, and if the Supreme Court, this is going to go to the Supreme Court, upholds this, if they bring it to the Muslims, the Mexicans are next, and then the Italians, and then it's going to be the Irish, and then it's going to be the blacks, and then it's going to, it's just going to, keep tumbling down, because when does it stop? We as Americans have to stop being afraid and stop having them throw this terror stuff like that. Terror has, matter of fact, people do your history. There was no such thing as terrorism until the KKK after the Civil War. There was no such thing as terrorism in the world, because everybody had a rule of law and a rule of combat, whatever the deal is. There was no such thing as terrorism. I mean, I'm sure there was like terrorism on the local level, where people are hanging people and, the Wild Wild West type stuff. But there was no organized terrorism until America made the KKK. Look it up. Very factual. So we have to stop being afraid.
I have to disagree. Without going into ancient history, the British treatment of Ireland would have constituted as basically like the KKK, and maybe even more. It was on a much larger scale.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll agree with you with that, but that's like something of a world power, an authoritative power doing it. We're talking about terrorism, like groups that aren't authorized to do it. The KKK was the first terrorist group that was not authorized by a national government or something like that.
The Vikings and also the Barbary Coast Pirates.
True, but again, that was way before they had organized government.
Well, the Barbary Coast Pirates, that was up until the early 1800s.
Yeah, 1800s, and we went over there, sent some Marines and kicked some ass, and took some names. But then that's another country too. We're talking about. Well, I'm talking about
you're
organized.
saying it never happened in the world until.
Well, we're talking about terrorism as we know it as an organization, organized. You know what I mean? Like there was an objective to do this to a certain group of people or have a certain agenda.
I have to say that the Barbary Coast Pirates still fit that criteria.
Yeah, but they didn't discriminate against anybody, though. They just robbed whoever came by, and in the maritime aspect. But like I said, we can agree to disagree. But again, it's how you look at it. Don't believe us. Go look it up. But the bottom line is, recent terrorism, be it 1800 to in a modern aspect. It's fairly recent, so it's something that's fairly new. And America, we are very, very good at it. And I'm not against America. Like I said, I'm a veteran, so I'm just saying, hey, you got to look at it from all sides, all angles. But my problem with America is we stop being chicken shits and go back to what we do best. When you screw with us, we're going to screw with you. It's as simple as that. And if we would stop being the candy asses that we've been over the last 30 years and start standing up, the one thing that made President Reagan really good as a commander-in-chief of the military, now a lot of people don't know about this. It was called the Reagan Doctrine. He said that if you screw with me, I'm coming over there full force and maybe just take over your country or just kick your ass and it's done. And all that time, that Bell's cutting parts in here. But all that time, the only thing Reagan could get his hands into was the that little island, the Caribbean. He bombed Libya, but he couldn't really get into that. But that one little Grenada, he got into the Grenada operation. But people thought this guy was crazy. I mean, but that's the kind of doctrine you got to have. Like, look, I'm not a pull the trigger. And nobody messed with us during that whole 8 years of a Reagan president. Golly, Bell, what are you eating? So I believe we have to stop dealing in fear. And, what's going to happen, it's going to happen. And we're going to deal with it as it happens. But, when I was growing up, you're an American. I lived overseas. They hated us because we were Americans. But did they screw with us? Not at all. So, I mean... It's just, they're the way I want to see it. But other than that, what else you got going on in the local community?
Well, what's got on my mind right now is what stopped me from getting here earlier was I got a call from DriveTime.com about a car loan, and I did not apply for a car loan.
Right. Oh, so you've got some identity theft going on.
Yeah, so I had to. Yeah, so I didn't get a whole lot of information out of them, but luckily I do have an identity theft insurance plan. It's not like the LifeLock $1 million one, but my credit isn't worth $1 million anyways.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I highly recommend that everyone in this town get something, because I mean I've been wondering why I'm even paying this. I've been paying for this all this time, but now it's like
now it's worth the way what you're paying.
Yeah, now I had someone to call up immediately, ask about, hey, what's going on here?
Right. So. I think identity theft it's rising. It's not going down. It's going to get worse. So I mean, did they resolve it and everything, or?
They're looking into it.
Okay, good. Well, it's funny that you say that because I got a letter from Portfolio Recovery, and I looked on my credit report a couple months ago, and I said, hey, I remember when I came back from overseas, somebody had stolen my identity, and this company called Dillard's. And I had a credit card from Dillard's. And I remember when I came back, showed them my orders, and I said, hey, that's not me. I was overseas during this time, blah, blah, blah. And it was on my credit report. Yeah. And I went to a recovery thing. And then, I'm thinking, wait a minute, I resolved this with Dillard's. But I guess as Dillard's, tried to get their money, they're like, hey, people look at your credit report at least once a year. You got to look at your credit report because you will be surprised at what is on that credit report. So I just got a letter today that said that the Portfolio Recovery said they're going to close the account. Mm-hmm. I did do everything I was supposed to do as a soldier. I guess they found my orders that I had turned in through Dillard's. And, there's not even a Dillard's here. Mm-hmm. Now, I know there's a Dillard's in Louisiana, and I think there's a Dillard's up north, but I've never been a Dillard's shopper because I don't what Dillard's really is. I think it's like a Gottschalk, the old Gottschalk thing like that. So it's funny that that you say that. But today, Pastor Don and I went and we shot some video with former Paris councilman Mark Yarborough. This guy has a Volvo, one of 68 Volvos in the world, in his shop. And we got pictures of it, so I'm going to be doing some editing, and we're going to put that up for Pastor Don's weekly devotional. And talked to him. We talked about a little bit of politics and what was going on in Paris City Council. Paris City Council, he served as a councilman for almost 20 years, and now they're very solvent. They have a lot of reserves, but he says the problem now that he sees that's going to happen is when you point the city in a certain direction, you get this new council that comes in, a younger council. They really, not saying that they don't know what they're doing, but it really makes businesses apprehensive.
Well, in our case, you can safely say they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, Moreno Valley, yeah. And I asked him about that. He goes, yes, we're very familiar with Moreno Valley and how they do things there. So, and
funny, we heard that last Thursday too.
Right. And, and the funny thing is, Victoria Baca's name keeps coming up he was like, I don't even see how she even got reelected after all the shenanigans she's pulled.
Oh, I do. There's photo evidence of her electioneering.
Right. And again, it's just so sad that we have a law enforcement district attorney that does not want to pull the trigger on these people until it's overwhelming evidence. And then by then, a whole bunch of damage could be done. Yeah. And then they're gone, and there's nothing that they can do. But so we met with Mark Yarborough. He has it's called Swedish Speed Incorporated, where he does, because his vocation is a mechanic. He's been a mechanic ever since he was a kid. That's all he wanted to do. And he's a master mechanic. And he doesn't just work on Volvos. That's his specialty, but he can work on any car. We're going to be putting the video up. Everybody, please, we're going to put the video up. Please go to check him out. His number is 951-657-7788. If you're looking for a really good mechanic, because you got some mechanics out here that are good, but like I have a good mechanic, been with them for a long time. You really got to find it's really good to find a mechanic that you stay with, because that person will know your car better than you, really. And then, he knows this was done, that was done, I put this on there, because me and my mechanic that does my thing, he knows the car, periodically. So you just come in, they hook you up. But it's always good to get a mechanic. A lot of people out there, and I know money's tight, but by jumping from mechanic to mechanic, one guy does something, it might be crap, and then the other guy's got to take it off. It's going to cost you more money in the long run. So if you're looking for,
I had a good one
that.
for years and going out of business.
Yeah, and and that's another thing. But this guy has a big old shop. We got a lot of. I mean, I was really impressed. Really big dog, and old dog. He's really a brindle color. It was awesome. So we're going to be putting that up, and we're going to be meeting with the developer out there in the golf course on Thursday. As a matter of fact, and Pastor Don is like, Don, you got to be there. You got to be there. So I'm going to try to be there because here's the problem. Luis Reyes is doing her swearing in ceremony, I think, on Thursday as well. So I'm going to see how that jives and see what we can do with that because we're trying to cover all over the Inland Empire now. So it's going to be very, very interesting how we're going to do that. But anything other than that, have you heard on the street? Anything updates? Anything happening?
Not much. I've been kind of busy with a bunch of other things, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to keep up. I heard there was an officer-involved shooting today.
Wow, I haven't heard that yet. I've been indoors.
Yeah, I heard it was down near Marina Valley High School. I don't think it was related to the high school.
Okay, right on the corner. In my neighborhood.
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to find out more about that, and so hopefully I'll know more later. Hey,
by the way, see, and here's another thing I keep telling everybody. I know you guys like listening to the show and hearing me go off and, Sean and the banter and everybody that's in the group. But here's the thing. You really have to get involved. It's just not enough that you vote. You got to really call your council people, and get involved with what's going on in the community. Was it Thursday or Friday? We met with the March Joint Powers.
Thursday with Danielle Wheeler.
With Danielle Wheeler. And, she's a former Marine. Dr. Danielle Wheeler, by the way. And an educated Marine is a scary thing because you don't want your Marines educated because then they want to kill everything and destroy everything. But no, educated Marine, educated soldier, an educated airman is a very dangerous thing, and I'm very proud to have known her. But tell us a little bit about what we talked about.
We talked a lot about the homeless problem, and finally talked to someone that actually knew what they were talking about, and they do have some history of working with the homeless, and they do have a little homeless program down there. And we talked to Pastor Don about possibly partnering with them to build either a bigger homeless program or a second homeless program. But it would be, for now, it would be just for the veterans and their families until all the veterans in the area are
seated and bedded.
Yeah, then they can open it up to other people.
Right, and Pastor Don, I believe, is going to be meeting with the U.S. Vet Rep about even some additional land out there that they might have or they might not be using, and maybe we could, negotiate something for local homeless as well. But there's a lot of stuff that I wasn't even aware of that is happening at the JPA, other than the of course the hospital and the outpatient thing, which is Sean's big thing. So we really gotta. Substance abuse is really big in Moreno Valley, in the Inland Empire. In Southern California. And it's going to get worse when this drug thing, marijuana thing, actually happens, because not everybody can smoke crack and survive. I've situations where people smoke something or they take heroin for the first time and they're dead.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a lot of problems with that. And it's the same thing with marijuana. It affects people differently. So
people just say, it's reefer madness, but no, it's not necessarily when people are high on marijuana that they have the problems. It's just being up and down, on marijuana, off the marijuana, on the marijuana, off the marijuana. That just does things to their brain chemistry that can cause some people to have serious emotional disturbances and trigger schizophrenia in some cases. Like if someone's genetically predisposed to it and they have a history in their family, but they don't have it, if they're a genetic carrier for it, then smoking weed does sometimes cause them to develop it. Right.
I recently read where, and I had heard about it, but I recently read to where taking drugs like marijuana, heroin, whatever it is, in a person whose brain isn't developed fully, and they say on average a human brain isn't developed till you're about 23 to 25 years of age. So, some of us are late bloomers, whatever, like myself. So people that think it's okay for teenagers to use marijuana or, illicit drugs or whatever and think that, it's no big deal. It is a big deal because their brain is not fully developed and they're already damaging it before they even get fully grown. And then by then they're going to be mentally impaired, which also helps keep the addiction strong.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot of things with that, but a lot of us are working behind the scenes, but we need you guys that are listening to get involved. I know you're in the matrix. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Sean has a lot going on, but yet he still finds time to go and meet with this person and look this up and look that up. I'm out of the matrix. I have a lot of time to do that stuff like that too, but again, you got to you're in the greatest country in the world. And all we ask of you is to take a day out of the month and volunteer and go talk to your councilman or at a homeless shelter, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, or hour to a week, maybe a day once a month, or at least a day once every other year to go vote. Right.
And just give back to the community. That's how it used to be. I mean, you would give back to the community. When people say, "Oh, the neighborhood's all screwed up and whatever." Well, what are you doing about it? And that's the difference between those that talk a good game and those that actually are doing something. And, we're trying to do something. We're not just here just to rap politically and rant and rave. Behind the scenes, we're doing a lot of stuff. We like to do it quietly, but maybe, we're at a point to where we have to show people, hey, you can get involved and make a difference in the community. And I think we're making a big difference by putting the pressure on the city council to do stuff, putting a pressure on the pastors and, things like that. Did you hear today also, City of LA is proposing something to solve the homeless problem in LA.
I heard they've been talking about that for a while. Is there what's new?
I think it's going to be some kind of an additional tax to where they can build, permanent structure shelters to, because you can't make somebody stay in a shelter. They don't want to stay in a shelter, but just have a place where you can use the volunteerism. But they needed the tax base to build the thing. They're going to talk about it. So if you're listening, please tune into the local news at about 10 or whatever time you're going to be looking at, or look it up on YouTube and Facebook. And
LA already has a relatively high minimum wage and extra taxes, so they have to be careful, or it could bear on them.
Yeah, and that's what they were talking about as well. But you got to do something. I mean, it's either that or have a city full of homeless people running around. That isn't going to help your neighborhood, isn't going to help your city. You got to address the problem. I mean, you can only kick it down the road so long before you have to address it. And the saddest thing is everything comes down to money. So either you address it now or you let it go, and it's going to be far more costly to do something about it. So
one thing that comes to mind with LA is they have a problem with dumping in Skid Row, where other hospitals, especially state hospitals in other states, will give them a ticket to L.A.
Right, and just drop them off and say, see you, have a nice time. Right.
And so that's happening faster than the city of L.A. can find families to take these people back in.
Take these people back in and just give them, it's just cheaper to give them a $30 ticket out of Arizona or whatever and just say, hey, head to L.A., San Diego, whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
I was talking to a young lady yesterday, and she was working at a couple of warehouses. She worked at the Amazon Fulfillment Center. She liked working at Amazon. It was okay. She met her quotas, or however that works. But she had worked at 2 warehouses, and I said, well, and she's looking for a job now. And I said, well, why don't you go back to the warehouses? She said she just doesn't want to go back because it's not conducive. It's not getting her anywhere. It's giving her enough money to put gas in her car and get to work, and but it's not enough to where she can move out of her house and do things like that. And I said, wow. And I've invited her to come on the show, of course, to talk about that. But we'll see how that goes. But
yeah, I know someone that used to work for Amazon, and
sit down.
They eventually found a stable job, but it's in Riverside.
Right. And and that's another thing that Mr. Yarborough was talking about, things in Paris with a lot of the box stores that they're building that are coming there. He says, realistically, you would want to make jobs for your community, but are they ready to accept those jobs? I mean, if you're, not everybody's a construction worker, not everybody's a customer service person. So he said, community-wise, he says a lot of jobs are for the people in the Inland Empire. So he said a lot of people are coming from Riverside to get those jobs. It's just like we had the Aldi, 100 openings. How many of them went to Moreno Valley residents?
I'm guessing in the single digits.
Yeah, I think it's like 8 or 9 people from Moreno Valley actually got jobs there because a lot of the jobs came from people who are better qualified.
Yeah. And that's what I like about what Daniel Wheeler was saying about the plans for the JPA is that, well, I know, let's take Evan Moore, for example. He's always been criticizing us, saying that we're anti-everything, we never support anything. Well, the JPA, here's something to support. We have someone that knows what they're doing and has projects in the works. The mental hospital may break ground as early as February or March.
If we don't sue.
Yeah. If you go down to the JPA, you won't see any PowerPoint presentations with a picture of someone giving another PowerPoint presentation.
Right. You won't get tri-tip dinner, unfortunately.
Yeah. And you won't have any fancy multimedia presentations, but what you will see is blueprints on the walls of projects that are in the works,
in the basket,
being built, and they actually have people looking to use them.
Right. And you got to understand, I know the JPA has been around for a while, but they are starting to wind down because a lot of the land that was allocated to them, they have projects coming down the pipe. And it's just a matter of stop suing them and let them bring these projects to fruition so we can get more jobs in here.
Yeah, and she was talking about that they are working on getting jobs, like taking stuff that was developed by the Naval Surface Warfare Center and actually putting into production in the JPA properties. Right.
And then this is high-tech stuff.
Yeah, and that would create jobs for computer programmers, technicians, welders. And this is actually stuff that has a fairly stable economic prospect. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to build the whole community on defense industry. I mean, we've done that before.
Yeah, we've done that before, and and so unfortunately, not everything should be logistics.
Yeah,
we should diversify and do other projects.
But even for the logistics, I mean, like we've said this a million times, that we've got interstate, we've got rail, and we've got a runway that's suitable for cargo planes. I mean,
absolutely.
If you can put a B-52 down that runway, you can definitely put a 747 down it.
Absolutely. Without problems, and 747s go out there. All right, that's our first hour. We're going to get back with Sean. I got some more questions, and that's going to be happening, especially what's going to be going down tomorrow. So if you're going to go to the city council, be ready because we anticipate a big crowd of Ito supporters.
I don't know if you'd call them Ito supporters, more like paid puppets.
Yeah, paid puppets. So we're going to nice little circus tomorrow. So we're going to get back into that, and we'll be right back right after these messages. This is Donovan Siddiq Show in conjunction with The Hot Seat. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
Come inside.